Okay, it's now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting of the Huntington Township Board of Supervisors to order. The first item we will pledge our allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember the 23rd anniversary of the attacks on September 9/11. Thank you. The first item I'd like to talk about is last month we adopted a policy on recording devices, and the policy, Marie, I think you, Mr. Ganji, received a copy of that, but I noticed you turned this camera on and I noticed you turned that camera on, so I assume that is your equipment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you aware that our policy has designated that area as the location for the cameras?
I've been using it for the past 2 months in this aisle.
Yeah, and we adopted the policy last month, so are you ignoring our policy, or I'm respectfully asking you to put it where our policy says you can have it?
I can't put it on the table. It has to be on here,
Okay.
on the tripod.
Well, it can still be on that table.
It can be on the these are attached to a tripod. I can't remove them.
Okay.
I mean, why do you want it suddenly on the table?
Because we adopted the policy last month, and now we're
But,
going to enforce the
okay.
policy. If you don't, I mean, certainly, if you want to put it at the back of that table, I don't have a problem with that, on the side there. But I would like you to move this. This is a camera too, correct?
It's a camera and an audio recorder because none of you speak up.
Okay. But again, our policy says that it has to be located there.
Nothing on the table, it indicates. You know, can we discuss this later? Because right now, I'd like to get on with the meeting.
No.
I mean, really.
No, we can't, because we adopted a policy.
This is harassment.
It's really not.
It is. That's been there since, what, April? And nobody said anything. And last month, when you adopted that, you said nothing about this can't be here or that. So, like I said.
Because I said it would be in effect at the next meeting, and now it's in effect at this meeting, so that's our policy.
That's not on the table. That's not on the board table.
But it is not at the location we provided in our policy. So, can you please move
You
it?
turn off that camera and still have
No.
it
No.
sound.
Okay.
No. If you want me to move this over there, it'll be in front of the thing, but there's somebody else recording.
Yeah, that is, the township has bought a camera to record the meetings that we will post on our website. The recordings will be unedited, without any comments. They'll be just of our meeting, and we're going to try to post them on our website so people can watch our meeting, okay?
But that has to stay there because you don't speak up, you refuse to speak up. The engineer tells everybody, just read it off the screen. Nobody can see that screen if you're sitting behind here. So I don't know what the problem is. There's not a crowd in here. We recorded when there were 50 people for the zoning hearing. This is harassment of me. I know it's retaliation, none of you like me, but this attorney should have more professionalism and just say, leave it be for now. And I know that you are the big cheese here, and that you are very domineering, but we provide this as a public service to this community, to the residents.
I would like to add something. There's all kinds of disabilities. And there are also hearing disabilities. The only way I know what's going on in this township was when my sister started recording this. I could watch the videos and understand what was going on. We asked numerous times for every one of you to please speak up, and you won't. Now, there is an American Disability Act. Are you compliant with that?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think our policy is reasonable and fair, and we're allowed to adopt the policy. So we
But
have
why is
order in
that
our...
bothering you? Because it shows Gus and the engineer and the roadmaster, is that why you're upset?
No, because that's against our policy. You know,
Well, why is it against the policy?
ma'am.
Why is that?
You know, ma'am, we debated this last meeting and the meeting
We
before.
didn't debate it last meeting.
You had your opportunity to
Yeah.
speak, okay?
And at that time, you said nothing about this.
Because the me... So
If
again,
you had told me that, I could have rearranged it perhaps with the editor that,
okay.
but this is impossible right now, so.
It's not,
if you-
it's not impossible. You're choosing not to move it. That's not impossible, okay? It is possible for you to move it.
You know what?
You can have a camera.
You're so despicable, this whole group is so despicable. I can't wait to speak up on the Greenbrier debacle. You are unbelievable. Now I'll have to rearrange this. That's because you hate transparency here.
Are you going to become compliant with the American Disability
Yeah.
Act?
I mean, that's a question for a
Because I
solicitor. I don't know what
also
I don't know what we have to
difficulty
do.
reading that.
I don't know that we're required to record the meetings at all, are we, Todd? I don't know.
No.
Yeah.
She's talking about the ADA,
Yeah.
the American Disabilities Act,
I-
where
I
you're
saw
supposed to have enough room for a wheelchair, etc.
Okay. Are you going to move this, ma'am?
I have
Are you gonna move that?
difficulty hearing
Where do you
it.
want me to move it to?
And I'm told to read it right there.
How about if the audio
I
recorder
have
can't pick up
cataracts
your
and cannot
voice?
see that clearly.
You know,
Can I put it in front of
ma'am,
me?
you can call me all the names you want to. I really
Please,
don't care.
you know,
You can hold it.
Yeah,
Under
the policy says you
hold
can
it.
hold it, so hold it if you like.
As to wheelchair, we have always had wheelchair access in front of that back row, the whole way up along the side. When the meeting attendance started getting higher and higher, last month particularly, that extra row of chairs was put in there. We were gonna take it out today, and we didn't. I will take it out. There will be wheelchair access along that back and up that's both sides.
Like I
There
said,
always was before.
the ability to walk is just one disability. There are many others.
Well, that's the one you brought up.
You know, let's be considerate of people with other types of disabilities.
Okay, next item is public comment for agenda items. Yes.
Okay, I want to talk about the Greenbrier collapse of the road. So I'm going to read from the second-class township code. Section 607, duties of supervisors. The Board of Supervisors shall, item 1 in paren, be charged with the general governance of the township and the execution of legislative, executive, and administrative powers in order to ensure sound financial, fiscal management, and to secure the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the township. I'll read Township Engineer, Section 1202. Engineer's duties, preparations of plans. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Section 1201. The Board of Supervisors may appoint and determine the compensation of a township engineer who shall be a registered professional engineer. The township engineer serves at the pleasure of the Board of Supervisors. So then it goes on to state that actually he works under your direction. Get this one. Roadmaster, Section 2302, duties of the roadmaster. The roadmasters shall report to the Board of Supervisors any information that may be required by the Board of Supervisors and by the Department of Transportation. Inspect all roads and bridges as directed by the Board of Supervisors. Do or direct, I won't read that one because it's not necessary to read it. Now I'm going to give you a definition of nonfeasance. It's a very simple one. I could have went to Black's Legal Dictionary. This was what came up. The neglect or failure of a person or persons to do some act which he ought to do. So at the December meeting held in 2023, Mark Lear was supervisor for the last meeting. Scott Longstreth, the township engineer from Shara Design, indicated that Greenbrier culvert could not be replaced either in the spring or summer of 2024. Mark Lear indicated that the pipe was so in bad shape, if there was going to be any kind of good hard flooding, we're not going to have a road. The engineer indicated that both Greenbrier and Myerstown were both pretty bad. Mark stated that the township's been doing a lot of procrastinating. And the pipe should be fixed because if that blows out, Rebel Construction is going to have a major problem, and he thought that it would be a liability for the township. That was the end of the discussion. No one asked any questions, etc. To the best of my knowledge, Chuck King, the roadmaster, who's also the brother of Jeffrey King, the supervisor, has not made any public reports on the conditions of the Greenbrier culvert for this past year. And none of the elected supervisors have questioned him on that. At the June 24 Planning Commission meeting, member Tom Strife was the only person in this township for the past year that inquired and said that he had gone up that week and he told the engineer that it was pretty concerning for a cave-in. He asked Scott Longstreth whether he had been up there and if he was comfortable with what the township was doing of just filling gravel to stabilize it. And Engineer Longstreth said, I haven't seen it in a couple months. Tom Strife indicated, I'd suggest you go look at it. Nothing. No okay from him, he's going to go up. So Greenbrier, in the month, in 2023, Shara Design billed the township $20,075 for work on this Greenbrier and all the plans, etc. So in 24, it was $12,203. Total of $32,278. So the cost of the Greenbrier culverts were, I think it was in 22 maybe you could answer that, Pat. The ARP monies were to be used for the replacement of the culverts.
Excuse me, you know public comment's 3 minutes and you're already speaking 4, so just as a reminder.
Okay. Well, I prepared this to be as short as possible. Once again, this board has failed in your responsibilities to the residents of this township. The engineer and the roadmaster has also failed the residents. The photos that were uploaded by a resident from Greenbrier, near Greenbrier Culvert, were horrific looking. You realize someone could have been injured or killed because of your inaction for 2 years. So the ARP money was supposed to originally have been paid for that, but I guess you were waiting for some kind of grant. So, so the only thing I notice is that when Chuck King comes in and asks for a new pickup truck for $30-something thousand, whoa, we get right on it. When he wants a $9,000 leaf blower, boom, we're on it. Now, snowplow for $251,000, right on it within 2 months. So I'd like to know, you like to clarify everything. Could you clarify why this township, why this board, and I know you're only for 2024, but I'd like to ask Paul Geist too, why the procrastination? None of you ever listened to Mark Lear, and he forewarned you about this happening, and nothing was done about it. And the engineer, I got the July bills, I have all his bills for about 1.5 years. He never, it's not on the bill that he ever went out to inspect that after the June meeting. Did he do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I went on with that.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't billed on the invoice.
Okay.
Do you want me to submit another bill to the township?
I find it interesting that that wouldn't be on the bill because you pretty
Okay.
much bill
Okay,
everything.
You're way over your 3 minutes, ma'am, so thank you for your comment. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're opening the bids tonight
Yes.
for that project?
Yes.
Okay, and I think And I also will make a comment that after that heavy rain, I did go out, and I looked at that culvert prior to the 4-inch rain in the morning, and after it was corrected.
We fixed it ASAP.
Right, and you know, and
It was only closed for approximately 4 hours.
there's been a lot of, there's other bridges out in this county, in this state due to that rain, so.
And
it's-
does she understand
Well,
what
you
the
know-
process of
Well,
going through
yeah.
and getting a DEP permit and everything before this culvert?
Okay.
You don't have any idea.
Okay, well, thank you for your comment.
I'd like to know from you, though, how did you guys all allow that to happen? When you had ARP money to be able to fix that in '23, or even in the spring, you had the ability to pay for that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to say,
Can
I'm
you-
newer to these meetings.
Can you state your name, please?
Michelle Taylor.
Thank you.
I'd like to, I'm newer to these meetings, wanting to come to be involved in hearing things about the township. I've been here, 15 minutes to hear somebody upset about policies and procedures who isn't even willing to follow them herself. So how can we discuss this and take this seriously?
Well, I've been attending here 3 years. You don't know what goes on here.
That's good for you, I'm just stating.
Okay. Thank you.
That's fine, that's your opinion.
Okay. Any other public comment on agenda items? Is it about the agenda item? Is it on the agenda, sir?
No, I asked to be on the agenda and I was taken off the
Okay.
agenda. Is this the public?
Yeah, no,
Comment time
there'll be
for
public comment about non-agenda items at the end of the meeting,
Okay.
okay?
It said public comment.
Yeah, it's for the agenda item, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first item is approve the Board of Supervisors minutes from our August 8th meeting. Any questions or comments on that?
I have none.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I so moved.
I will second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The bill list for September the 12th have been distributed. You pull them up, Gus?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions on them?
I have none.
I'll make a motion to approve the bill list. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I have one question. How much income do we take?
That's
in taxes?
on the next, that's on the
Oh,
financial.
okay, thank you. In taxes.
Okay, to answer the question, we received $58,466 in receipts.
And you wanted to know the earned income tax, is that your big question? 47,000. So
47.
people are working, our residents are really,
So our earned, that's,
yeah, they're doing good, and it comes back to us to work with. It's our working budget.
you want to go through this, Pat? You want to read through the financial quick?
The financial report for September 12th, in the general fund, total receipts, $58,646.73. The expenditures were $40,332.22, letting a balance in the general fund of $922,541.24. The ARP, there was $18.34 interest. There were no expenditures. The balance in there is $216,580.07. In the state fund, the interest received was $11.35. Expenditures were $807.75, letting a balance in the state fund of $133,335.96. So a total of all the accounts as of today is $1,272,457.27.
Have we received all the grant money from the project yet?
Yes,
Okay, so that's all in the account.
yes it is.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on that? Miscellaneous items? Anything, Pat?
No.
Thank you. Chuck, Roadmaster's report?
We did a culvert replacement this month. We did finish up the mowing We did, we're doing some shoulder, gutter cleaning, shaping shoulders, and doing some brush trimming now. Tree trimming back for low hanging limbs.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Chuck?
No?
Thank you. Supervisor report, anything?
I have
I have nothing. Zoning officer report, Gus?
Yeah. I issued a, let me get it up
I have a quick question, if I may ask.
Yes.
What was done on the culvert that washed out? What kind of work did you have to do there?
We,
How come it wasn't mentioned in the report? Because that's a big report, from my understanding, it was quite
took
caving.
2 tracks, loads of shot rock and R4s and took some 2A and covered it and patched it. It's under, gonna get replaced.
Now, we've been waiting for it for about 2 years now?
You folks don't even know what it goes into this type of project. You don't have any idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, explain it to me.
No, we're not,
I just
yeah, this
want to know.
project, the culvert did not automatically fail on
It
December.
washed out from each side of it because of heavy
Exactly.
rain. Period.
The stones washed out, the crew went and fixed it.
Right, we fixed
So
it.
people
We
could
had
get
it open
across it.
back up within
You know, it's,
3-4 hours.
there'll be floods again, and there'll be culverts that get washed out again, I'm pretty sure. You know, and that's, our job is to try to prevent all we can. But, you know, again, that culvert didn't get bad in a few
Overnight,
days.
no, it
You
did
know,
not get bad
things
overnight.
progress.
Exactly, it's been bad since, I was coming to the meetings over a year ago, and that's all it was talked about every week.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
that's
I was not a
bad,
supervisor
it's
to
bad.
January of this year, but I think, you know, we weren't, as a group from the previous roadmaster, aware of it either. Is that correct? So, again, we can debate it, but I'm just glad it's getting fixed now. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Did that have to be reported to the Department of Transportation or anyone in Harrisburg?
No.
No?
Township road.
As part of the permitting process, though.
Permitting
You're talking about the
process, they gotta
repair.
go
Which
to
part,
DEP.
Marie? Did what have to be reported?
I didn't ask you a question. I'm told that I always have to direct everything to the chair, so that's what I'm doing.
We did have a report that had to go to emergency services for
Yeah,
any
yeah.
any
Found out
flood.
because they're
Yeah,
just,
when the road was not there,
right,
you notified.
right, it's on a, that's the county of a disaster.
Right. No different if a tree falls across the road or a wire's down, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
snow emergency, right?
Gus?
How long was this known to be a problem? 3 years, 4 years?
I have no idea. I don't know when it was.
When they,
I don't have no idea when Greenbrier was, if anybody discovered it or when it was discovered. I mean, you guys have been working on it since December.
well, way back in October, when I went to the classes for
Okay.
the grant money.
Okay, October of '23,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Gus?
Okay. I issued a building permit to Leon Hostetter at 1340 Warmouth Mill Road. He's bought a used barn, 48 by 72 feet, that he's moving to that property, and he has a stormwater plan to mitigate that. He issued a well permit to Seth Huffman for 6145 Oxford Road. The old house on that lot is being taken down, and that house was served by a spring, and he's drilling a new well for the new home. I issued a building permit to Garmin Homes, 130 Tammy Drive, for a 2-story single-family dwelling. I issued a building permit to Tony Ridolfi at 135 Tammy Drive. He purchased a new home from Garmin, and he's adding a 12 by 16-foot deck to the rear of the house. He issued an occupancy permit to Garment Homes for a home that they built, a 2-story single-family dwelling at 150 Tammy Drive. They issued a building permit to Ross Huffman at 1002 Upper Bermudian Road for a spray material shed, 30 by 32 feet. And the stormwater plan was part of the Conservation District's examination of that project. I issued 4 letters of waiver, one to Judy Bainey on Quaker Church Road to replace a damaged deck, a waiver to Nathan Davis at 107 Gun Club Road to replace a damaged deck, a waiver to John Davis at 1062 Idaville Road for a Home Depot is going to replace 4 windows in his house, and a waiver to Bonnie Bray Fruit Farms for property on Farmview Road to replace the front porch. The Adams County Tax Collection Committee met. Everything looked good. They reported that earned income tax collections are up for the last quarter. Just wanted to report that we have a project, we have a land development plan submitted for JDI for the property on Old Harrisburg Road. One of the things that was across my desk was a report that I believe it was Bethlehem Borough or somebody out there, lost a court case. The court ruled against them because they turned down disapproved a project in their governmental area because it lacked a state permit. The courts ruled that you can't turn a plan down for a lack of a state permit that they're waiting on. And I mention that because JVI is waiting for 2 state permits. One is an NPDS permit and another is a highway occupancy permit that will not be here very soon. Because of those 2 projects, they have a building permit that's in process. So it's my feeling, and Mr. King, that I'm sure that the application for the garage that they want to build on the building lot will be ready before the state permits are, so we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. The other thing I want to report is that the property on 880 Southridge Road, which is the one that narrows down to a point, the gentleman who was proposing mini storage for that lot has evidently withdrawn, and the realtor reports that the property's back on the market, and the neighbor across the road has put a bid in on it. If that's the case, he wants to use the shelter that's already existing on the property to concrete it and put walls on it so that he could service his trucks. He's in the propane and fuel oil business. He has 4 trucks, and he wants to construct a roof that would shelter 4 of his trucks, so to keep them out of the weather and park them on that property instead of at his home. That remains to be seen if the sale goes through. When he does that, at that point, we'll cross that issue. I've had 2 complaints this past month, one about loose chickens. I advised the neighbors that if the chickens cross over onto their property, they can eat them. And the other one was on property on Flowing Springs where the owner refuses to mow his lawn. We don't have an ordinance on that, so, I mean, I'm willing to get in touch with the gentleman and encourage him to mow his lawn. But that's about it.
Any questions for Gus? Thank you, Gus. Scott, engineers report.
Greenbrier Road replacement project bids were due today at 7 p.m. I know we have at least one.
We have 2.
We have 2?
Yes.
Okay. We'll be opening those later in the agenda. The Myers Pond Road culvert replacement, we're getting ready to start on that now that this one's getting ready for construction. Chuck gave me another culvert replacement project for Rolling Road. It's a smaller scale, so I just need a basic GP permit for it, so it shouldn't take too long. Continuing to work on the update to the Salvo with county planning and planning commission. And one plan is currently under review, which Gus talked about, that is the JVI group, development plan.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Scott?
May I ask a question of the engineer?
Yes.
About, is it the culvert near my property?
I don't know where she lives.
Rolling Road.
It's Rolling Road, it's the
One on the corner of Rolling Road,
Yeah, it's corner of Rolling Road here when you come around the turn.
Okay.
before your house,
Yeah.
at the
All
corner.
right.
Thanks. Fire company reports, anybody from the fire company here? We did receive the audit report from Heidelberg from the foreign fire tax, and there's a few findings that they were out of compliance on. So we'll follow up with that. I'm sure the fire company will take care of that, but we were notified of that. Okay. Yes, sir?
The out of compliance things in Heidelberg, can you just quickly say what they were? Is this past month?
Yeah, we just got the report last month. It was from the fire tax. They're audited annually. All the volunteer fire companies are audited for proper record keeping.
Okay, so it was a money thing?
I can't recall off the top of my head what the issues were. They were not any major findings.
My question is, do you see their calls? The
No.
fire?
No, we don't necessarily tell us. Thank you. Old business, open and approve Greenbrier Road culverts bids. So we have 2 here. Go ahead, open them, guys, and give me the numbers. We have from Kinsley, and the other one's from, which one do you have?
I have one Hobbs Excavating.
Okay.
Who's that?
Hobbs.
Hobbs.
Hobbs, okay.
Hobbs and Kinsley.
H-A-B-S.
You have a number?
Yep, Hobbs Excavating
Yep.
is $299,500.
Okay.
Kinsley is $366,600.
Okay. comments or questions on these? They both got the bid package, obviously, and know the requirements.
Yeah. Only Hobbs Excavating was at the pre-bid meeting.
So they were at the site and saw the job.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any reason we shouldn't award the bid to Hobbs? Any concern?
I know none.
Are all the required documents?
We'll have to
there?
make sure, we'll have to,
So they'd just be subject to approval of Scott and I to make sure they
Okay.
comply with all the requirements.
of the bid
So we'll
requirements.
just check them out later then.
Okay. So do we want to make a motion to approve Hobbs contingent on the approval of the engineer and the solicitor? I will make that,
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is acknowledge that alternate sewage enforcement officer Terry Sheldon's letter of resignation. So, yes,
There was a message on the phone that Stambaugh called, and evidently the alternate, the gentleman he works with who is preparing to be certified for SEO work, he's not going to be ready for another month.
okay.
And so he asked that we hold off on naming him until he is certified as a SEO.
Which was the next item on the agenda. Okay,
Okay.
so we will not appoint the new alternate sewage enforcement because he's not certified at this point.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Review invitation to Adams County Boroughs Association meeting on September the 16th.
Yes, they issued that invitation to you last month.
Right.
And they sent again saying how important it is.
Okay.
And that, but you do have to RSVP if you're going.
Okay, thank you. Next item is discuss and approve the winter maintenance agreement with PennDOT for portions of Slayball Town Road, Schneider Road, and Oxford Road. That was on the agenda last month.
Just take it.
And we tabled it, so do I hear a motion to untable it?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, it's a motion to untable it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We moved and second to untable the item. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, so we're back on the agenda now.
I thought we waited too long.
Is it too late this year if we want to proceed with that?
To my knowledge, yes, but I talked to the guy at the county, PennDOT. He was saying that depending on availability of personnel, that they may change, extend that.
Okay,
So we may have a possibility of taking care of them roads this year. If not, then we're all set for next year.
okay.
If they,
I mean, the question last month was about liability, and is there any liability? From my perspective, I don't know that we have any more liability plowing those roads than we do our own roads, and if we're driving on those roads, we have that same amount of liability.
Correct.
Would that be a correct statement?
Depending what's in the document,
Okay.
but yes.
Right.
But any road you take care of, you have the liability for.
Okay. Yes.
I'd like to give you these photos that I took on Oxford Road, January 17th of this year. As you can see, if we can't clean our roads that are assigned already, why are we taking on more work? That was me proceeding down. There was only one lane and it was slippery, etc. So I'd like to know, why are we taking on more of a burden for the road crew, especially if there's going to be a big storm?
Do you know that this portion of Oxford Road was our road?
Excuse me?
Do you know that this portion of Oxford Road was
No, I meant
ours?
to ask you about it.
So why are we bringing it up?
Well,
We don't
because-
even know that this was
Well,
our.
one of the things is, why does it indicate at the bridge, because I called Tyrone Township, because going in to Route 15, Old 15, it indicates the bridge area is Tyrone, which I assume is the other side, because I called on the bridge, and they immediately went out the next morning to do it. But coming back from old US 15. It has on the sign Huntington Township. So where does our boundary end there?
Well, you can look at the map to see that, but it's
Down
it's
at the
it's it's at the creek, it's at the bridge. The bridge from there, that is the township line.
Well, that's what I mean.
Pictures I have.
Yeah, well, I mean, my only
This
comment.
is proceeding, okay, I make a left off Cranberry, and that was the road immediately on Oxford.
It's state.
That's state.
That's state.
That's the
It's
state.
not us.
That's a state road.
It's a state road
Yeah.
to the
Correct.
creek?
Yes.
Yeah.
From the creek
From,
or down to...
from Cranberry.
Cranberry is a state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not us.
Cranberry is a state road,
No,
I
no,
know that, but Oxford.
Oxford Road is the Cranberry.
Part of
Part of
Oxford
it's
Road is
straight.
state too.
Is a
Part of it's
state.
Yes,
state,
but
part
yeah,
of it's
If I can interject something, I mean, if we have the expectation as a citizen that the roads will be completely bare of snow at 100% of the time, that is not a
That's
real.
not practical.
That's not a
I realize
realization.
that.
You
No.
can't do that.
Right.
You know, you have to be careful, you have to travel with the normal speeds, but if you expect every road to be completely clear, that's not reasonable.
I mean, how much more
And
of,
according to that picture, they're making a round. They got one side done. They haven't come back on that other side yet. So
But, you know-
you folks, I don't understand how we plow roads. We plow them in a circle. You may not, we can't run one road, turn around, and come right back that same road. We'll go and work an area, which some of the time there might be a couple hours or an hour or two till we get back get that second lane.
My recommendation is have our solicitor, Mr. King, look at the agreement before we proceed, and then we'll just make a decision.
and do we have liability insurance for this kind of thing? Like Mark Lear last month brought up the fact that some area on the roads get a lot of field drift from snow from the fields, etc. Now, since he was the roadmaster for 16 years, I'm assuming he realizes and he knows that for a fact.
You know, man, at the end of the day, we'll have Mr. King look at that.
Okay,
I looked at our bill and I asked Mr. Chuck how much we spend on salt and cinders a year. 50, 80 tons, right?
Yeah.
So we
50,
spend maybe
50
4,000 to 5,000 on a typical year
Right.
for salt and cinders. If they're willing to pay us 8,000, if that's 10% of our mileage, you know, I look at those economics, I'm thinking, and we're already driving the roads, but, you know, let's check the liability and then we'll make a decision based on that.
how many more miles are they gonna have to
4
plow?
miles.
8, or, yeah.
It's 4 miles.
4 miles.
7.5 lane miles.
2 lanes.
Yeah,
So we gotta make a loop.
Snow lane miles is
And we have, right now you have 90 lane miles, correct, or something like that in the township?
8, yes, almost 90.
Right.
How much more time do they expect those 4 miles will take? Because I know the road crews have to be out day and night if there is a very large storm. So is that 8,000 going to also take care of their overtime?
Depends on the year, but I think a lot of years, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we will, Mr. King.
Thanks for clarifying that, Paul.
Okay, new business, inform officials, the Adams County ACATO Fall Conference, November the 20th. That's the the Adams County
Association
and
of
the
Township
Township
Officials.
Okay, I'm glad I forgot the acronym. Okay, so if anybody wants to go, that's down at Bonneville or McSherrystown, I believe, correct?
Doesn't say that's where it has been.
Yeah, it saves, I thought.
It is.
It says.
Okay. Okay, the next item is approve Bermuda Springs 4-H Club request to conduct their meetings here at the Township Building. So the local 4-H Club has requested that they use this facility. What nights?
The third Tuesday.
Is there any concern
I will
about?
make that motion.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any subdivisions or land developments? Okay. Next meetings are the Planning Commission's meeting is September 23rd at 7. Our next meeting, the NAREMA meeting, which was canceled for this month, has now been moved to Wednesday, October 2nd at Butler Township at 6. Our next meeting is Thursday, October 10th at 7 PM. Now, public comment, sir?
Yes,
Yes, do you have public comment?
yes. I'm James J. Waldron at 313 White Church Road. Just to go back with the borough meeting of the county, I hope one of you attended. Please attend it. There's a lot of things with Tyrone going on and chicken manure moving here and there. So I don't know, did anybody, you said if anybody wants to go, are any of you guys gonna go?
I'm planning on it, yes.
Thank you, that's important,
Okay.
and that's where I'm kinda going. James J. Waldron, 313 White Church Road. About 11 years ago, well, prior to that, I've been here since 1991, somewhere along my lifetime, you guys put a commercial area, cut it off down in White Church Road. The properties were separated by a gentleman by the name of Bronwell. He sold them. We had a big event with a gentleman in a property who wanted to do a baseball field. Across the street from me, a couple kids, nice kids, wanted to start a mulch operation, and then later on we had a tow guy through the sill and a sign place on White Church Road, all of which are commercial. With that said, these charming kids in the mulch business, they went on for 11 years, and they grew their business, and for 11 years put up with dust and neighborly things and so on and so forth. April 15th, I walked into my house, and my wife was passed out on the floor, and my house was full of gas fumes. I went over to the neighbor, and I addressed the gas fumes. He told me that he was in the country, and there's country smells, and mushroom soil sells. And I said, pay attention to your winds, be cognizant, don't let it happen to me again. With that said, the 20th of last month, at about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm an early riser, 4 o'clock, I took my pill salad, and I took a nap on my couch, and it was a beautiful day on the 20th, and my windows were open. By the way, that house has been there since 17-something. It's part of the history of White Church. It's got a ghost, Cletus Bosserman, in it. It's historic. Anyhow, so you put this mulch thing in, and on the 20th of September, I wake up gasping for air.
August, that's all right.
Huh?
August, we're not.
August.
Yeah.
Racing to the wastebasket. My house is full of poison gases. I go across the street to the neighbor. I said, check my house out and smell it. And I don't know if it was a smile, a laugh, a giggle. I'll see you later today. I said, no, you'll see me right now. And he ignored me. With that said, I called 911. That's why I asked you if there was a report from the fire company. The fire company came over. And when they came over, they ran through, I said, you got a meter? They said, yeah. Well, their meter looks for propane and so on and so forth. It doesn't look for ammonias and things. The EMT said, do you want me to take you to the hospital? Of which I said no, because I'm Jim Waldron that lives on White Church Road, but next time I will go to the hospital. With that said, I got in touch with the township and I said, what is he zoned? And he's zoned manufacturing. And I went to the commissioners meeting and I asked who to touch base with, and then they put me on to the Adams County planning people, of which I'm glad you're going to the meeting because we've got to do all the townships together and everybody get on the same page. So finally, after several calls, well, Gus had told me that they were manufacturing. And then I had to delve into civic protocol, and the county told me to come to you guys. With you guys, are there any regulations as oversight to a what the county calls a compost operation, the township calls a manufacturing operation. Then there's compost that comes in and mixes with mulch and soils of which they compost. It's very technical. I learned more about compost and mulch than I care to protect myself, because I don't have a lawyer, and I'm going to do whatever action it takes never, ever to be poisoned in my house. Now, in my researches of mulch, and what the hell did I say? The other stuff. Keep it straight, Jamie. Mulch and compost. Compost generates organic peroxides, which there's a placard that needs to be placed on a truck that goes up and down the road with the DEP for organic peroxide. Organic peroxides in studies hurt children. There's 2 children that go to the school bus less than 10 feet from this facility. Mulch, on the other hand, produces hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen peroxides, along with acidic acids, of which, when the winds come in from the west at 25 miles an hour, create a chimney effect, comes across my yard and goes into my home, and fills my home with these poisons, of which I, like a man, addressed with my neighbor, and he laughed me off. I got all the way to DEP. This guy does mulch. This guy does, what's the other stuff?
Compost.
Compost. So now we're splitting hairs. Now whether it's a Jackson or whatever in the hand, I don't know. But this gentleman, Brian Walter, from the DEP, went down there, and I had to call him to get a response from him, to go in with a gauge and see if these piles are producing these gases. Now, with that said, we're going into winter, these kids are going to be cutting wood. In the spring and April, they're making mulch. There's different times, and if you look at the DEP regulations and environmental impact, when they get all them diesels running and they're slapping wood and making dust and all that good stuff, is when they need a DEP permit issued for such and such a timeline. I can produce from April to May. I have oversight. I'm going to do this. I have oversight. There's permits that should be, that aren't engaged, and there's no oversight.
Sir, if I can interrupt you, remember,
Yes, sir.
it's a 3 minutes, and I think we've been over.
I'm sorry about my 3 minutes. Well, I had to get it through.
No, but, you know, I guess,
Well, here's where I'm going.
yeah.
Here's where I'm going.
If you can conclude.
I'll conclude.
Thank you.
In the event that I'm on my couch and I'm poisoned, I'm going to call Corporal Kyle J. Reeser, and I'm going to file charges for assault. And at the same time, I'm going to point direction into here if there's no action taken for you guys being complicit on poisons and just ignoring it. Because that's all I can do. I can't afford a lawyer. I don't expect to be poisoned in my house. I'm not shouting lies. And there you have it. I'm done. I did my statement. I asked to be on the agenda today. I assume that's because I won't be on public record. The same thing happened down at the commissioner's. I'll learn how to be a lawyer next. I'm not going to be poisoned in my own house with my windows open. And in the DEP, you're not allowed to put compost within 300 feet of a homeowner's place without his permission. That facility is 200 feet from me. This trooper says we're going to split hairs and say, where's the compost? That facility by the county is recognized as a compost facility. That compost facility is 200 feet from my window. I didn't sign a waiver that says they can compost. There you have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
The only thing I will say is, like you mentioned, the composting and mulching, all that stuff's regulated by DEP,
Right.
not the township.
Correct. And the DEP told me that they couldn't investigate until I came down to the township. So is it in the township code? And when you put all the business together and you're worried about this guy building an office, having a sprinkler system, did you have oversight of the compost / mulch manufacturer? Did you say that we're going to regulate you? Did you give them a permit? Was there a permit issued
For what?
for them to make mulch? Is there a little thing that says Huntington Township says you can manufacture mulch?
The only action that I'm aware of, and I wasn't the solicitor back when he did this, was he came in for, I think, a conditional use
Okay.
approval for
Alright.
zoning. So basically, can I do this there under zoning?
Right.
And from what I understand, it was approved for manufacturing of, with regards to the mulch and retail sale of landscape products and
Okay.
whatnot.
Oh, are you aware that there was a lawsuit, of which I was a neighbor, that was complacent, that shouldn't have, between him and Paul Stark, or Paul Stark and the township?
Correct.
Was, here's the deal. If you go to best practices, Penn State Extension, and invite them in here, they need to safely make mulch in a vessel. This is open air manufacturing with giant machines that are so high, they're 7 stories high of mulch with a big excavator on it. Now, if you guys are going to be willy-nilly, I will phone OSHA tomorrow, and I'll phone the EEP tomorrow. And then I'll have them come down here and check the water in this place. You want me to do that? That's my next step. Or are you going to invite the Penn State Extension to get some college kid to teach him how to safely make mulch and have a neighbor that doesn't want to be poisoned?
Could you clarify, you said DEP needs the township to ask them to do something?
I called DEP. Here, I was trying to be a nice neighbor. I said, I'm being poisoned. I said, you have Hillendale Farms with their chickens that I come to learn that their heater's out and they're moving chicken manure into our township, of which you'll learn that hopefully if you talk to that guy down there from Stray Band. Then I said you have Rudders, this is all within a mile of my house, with 24/7 diesels running there. Every night there's 30 diesel trucks just laying there all night long. Then I said, you got a guy across the street that has potential of making chemicals, of which it is a chemical bowl. If anybody were to take a look on Google Earth, you can see it clear as day. The DEP guy calls me up, and one guy didn't call me because he had to do with chickens. And another guy calls me up and he says, Jim, I can't do that. You got to go to the township, because I guess he doesn't have a permit for the DEP to come in here and investigate the permit. With that, the fellow says to me, if you have a problem with the diesels, call me up, or the state police. So then I went into the statute of composting law and saw where the compost pile was, where my house was. They didn't have me sign anything. So I went down to the troopers and I said, look, here's the law, go enforce it. Give him a ticket. And the trooper's scratching his head. Well, guess what? Mr. Kyle comes from Chambersburg and he got all involved in it. Here's the deal. You're not allowed to compost within 300 feet of a house. They're claiming that they buy the compost and sell it. 10-wheeler load of compost parked in your front lawn. When indeed, if you go to the site of EB, they put the compost into the compost and make compost. So they are technically a compost operation. But then when you get into the DEP, this guy does that shit and that guy does this shit.
Okay, sir, again,
That's what I'm saying.
Those
We need
regulations-
oversight.
The regulations would be DEP. We do not have regulations.
Well, then there you go. Sign it into the statute of this township that
Regarding
you need
those
oversight for the
items.
DEP. And then I have another question with these food operations that are open. I understand you got restaurants and they were all under agriculture and stuff like that. You know, you got people serving food in this township that have once a year do a little serve pro thing. There's no Department of Health checking anything. Anything. And on top of that, let's keep staying with pollution. I'm a motorcycle rider, and this guy up here on Farmdale Road, I come over a knoll, and then there's some guy spraying the street, and I wore a whole face load of it. Now, why wouldn't this county sit there and say, you know what, if you're going to spray trees, you got to put a little thing and let the motorcycle guy know that he's going to catch a face load of your spray. And I know how you guys are about spray down here. And there's a code word going on. You're new to me. And the code word, I went to the commissioners meeting. I had a commissioner come down off the table and quote unquote every single word that he spoke to me during the meeting. Chicken shit is just that, chicken shit. That comes quote from quality. And I heard this guy joke about it here and there.
Sir.
Fix it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
James J. Waldron, 313 White Church Road.
Yes.
Will not be poisoned ever again in my home.
Okay. I hope not, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hope not.
He spoke at the planning commission meeting,
Okay.
and I thought it was said that he did not have a permit. I thought Gus indicated he did not have a permit for composting. Am I correct?
I don't
Did
know the answer to that.
Oh, okay,
We don't issue a permit for composting.
No.
okay. But I noticed the solicitor's report is not on the agenda. Has that been taken off also?
Go ahead.
Generally, if I do not have a report, I told Pat it doesn't need to be on there.
Okay. Well, I do have a question. In reference, I receive your bills monthly under the right to know requests. And I've noticed the past couple months that, and you know, I'm a former legal secretary that had to enter time for 34 years. It was grueling. There's a best practices. I'm wondering, why do you kind of commingle different matters in one narrative? I mean, and I've noticed too that you only put email correspondence with planning commission member. How would somebody know who you talked to in a year? Because then it says email discussion with Miller Realtor, call from Lear Surveyor, and research on Act 537 regulations for non-building waiver. It seems to all be, is that one item? Or it seems to me that it's,
I don't know specifically what you're referring to on that, and generally, I write the bills, I haven't heard any complaints from.
I'm sorry?
I write the bills, I haven't heard any complaints from my client that they do not
Yeah.
understand them.
I'm sure, well, I'm sure they don't even look at it, they just pay it perhaps. But because I'm trained in, I know that in litigation, when you had the litigation with the Sam Wills property, there were different items which, I don't know, maybe because your firm does not have the best practices for time entry, but I know for litigation, you have to be very careful in case the litigation where the township would be awarded fees for you, that they're very careful. The judges don't like to see things commingled. They want to see, okay, you did an email, how much, was that a 0.3 or a 0.2? You did email correspondence with your client, a 0.2. They don't like it where it's all commingled and suddenly you have an hour's worth of time. So your Salzman and Hughes does not have the best practices for time entry. You have no procedures for it.
That what we do in our law firm is not relevant for this township.
Exactly.
Well, as a taxpayer, all of us, the taxpayers that pay your bill, we would like to have a bill that's understandable, and this is not.
Thank you for your comment.
And wait a minute, I have one more thing. Since the right to know requests were also taken off, and I had to request these, I noticed one from an anonymous request from Jay Dino. He had requested apparently, and there's, pages of stuff here. He had asked for the Laura Hoke, who is a elected official, filmed me from her position at the table, just me, at the meeting that I attended. I'd like to know, it indicated you denied his request. I'd like to know what the status, is there an appeal, like what happened with this? Because I noticed there's letters indicating.
that there was an appeal. I'm sure if you send a note to Pat, she can tell you what the Office of Open Records case number is, because all the stuff's posted there. That's all available to everybody, right, Pat? I mean, no, I can get in and log in. Are all those cases public? I've never accessed it outside of a case.
Well, from my understanding, they do not. Until the final decision is made, it's not available to the public.
Okay. Well,
So-
it's subject to an appeal then.
And I was wondering, because you indicated it was an anonymous appeal, does this township have a right to know request policy? I don't know of any. And according to the OOR, and in fact, I researched it, and PSATs had some sort of a bulletin out on Google, it appeared. It indicates that if the townships do not, or the municipalities do not want to, if they want to deny an anonymous request, that it must be prominently displayed on their website, and we don't have that either.
I disagree that it needs to be prominently displayed on the website. The right to know law.
Well, it was under the, I could send Pat the
The right to
OOR
know law
notice.
itself has a provision
Right.
that the Office of Open Records has interpreted that townships have the discretion to approve or to
Right.
deny an anonymous request. And
But-
PSATs did send out, and that the best policy is to have a written policy
Right.
saying how you would handle anonymous requests and stuff
Yes.
like that.
And that's what I mean, this township doesn't do that. It's always, they put out a fire once it begins. I don't understand that.
I don't think we've ever had an anonymous.
Not till this,
Everybody usually,
not till
The
this.
reason it's become such an issue is there's a website where people can
I'm
get
familiar
on
with that.
and make anonymous requests, and they're basically flooding municipalities with these requests, hence why anonymous requests have been such a popular thing.
And that's why
here
the
lately.
state legislator's taking a look at the whole right to know request, because it's become quite cumbersome for school districts and boroughs and townships because of this situation.
Well, because
So at the end of the day,
municipalities and school boards don't want transparency.
Well,
I was told by a Harrisburg attorney, because I was gonna hire an expert.
that's your opinion again, ma'am.
No, it's not the opinion, I'm saying
Okay.
facts that I've researched.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion for adjournment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.